I like the infinite regress of it. I like the infinite regress.
Yeah, you're in there somewhere.
So a couple of things. This is sort of the last basic assignment, which is basically to create that database. Some of you already did it, but if not, I'll kind of like guide you through doing some of that again. Putting in some data in the form of JSON. And then there aren't very many queries because this is a kind of a stretch compared to the SQL, but what artists are, choose a genre, what artists are in that genre, what fans follow those artists, what shows exist for those artists, and what are the shows for a particular venue. Venue being, you know, like the, Showbox or something like that. So I don't know. There's a manual. I got that. I'm going to go to, just real quickly, just to show you, I'm going to go to the GitHub. So if you're totally lost on these, if you go to the database schema, I added show tracker JSON text, and I did my version. You certainly don't have to do that. Your versions will be more interesting. But I do have like a venue collection, a fans collection, a shows collection, an artist collection, and I think that's it. And I have some queries that we could run, but it's there, right? So basically I just want to lessen panic. But if you have your own and you want to set it up, that's probably a better learning curve, right? So let me show you how to get into Mongo again. And I think I have, so I have the blog here too, but I'm going to go back to first steps with No SQL. And I think one of the things that I might do is we can, if you want, we can use this, and I'll take you back here and give you the address and everything, to insert some things to practice with, you know, to show you how a query looks, and then you can do, give you a shot at the other ones. But if you fail or have trouble or just get too frustrated, there's a script online you can use. Again, my point of doing this NoSQL is just to give you the look and feel. You've actually touched one, right? So when you go off and look for work or you want to develop things further, you have some idea of what a NoSQL database looks like. Some of them have graphical interfaces. A lot of them don't, though. So I have a lot of things set up. First thing I'm going to do is connect to Mongo. So I'm going to do CMD. And I'm doing that in the Cortana down here. You can also find it under Windows accessories. We basically want the command prompt. And is that big enough to see from the back? I think it's the same thing as last time, but if it needs bigger, I could do. I'm going to do CD /. That takes you to root. Did you install Mongo? And you might want to do it in your virtual. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I'm not in the virtual, but I have admin on my machine, and none of you do. All right, so the path is CD program files, MongoDB server 3.4 bin. That's a long path. I should probably show you how to path that. So you don't ever have to write it again. So it's program files, MongoDB server 3.4 bin. It's just the way Mongo. This is actually harder to do in Linux which is strange because that's sort of its native. But once you've got that, you guys need a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. One way you can tell this, if you go to the, the file explorer, each one of these is a directory. Program files is a directory, MongoDB is a directory, server is a directory, 3.4. Each of those is a folder on the way. Give you just a minute. If you're ready to go forward, all you have to do is type MongoD. And MongoD is the actual server. Got it, or you need a minute? I should put this like just the path so you can paste it. Or we could put it in. Yeah. So you need to do CD in front of it. CD program file.
Change directory.
Yeah.
Just checking the secretary.
Oh, it's good in
It
there.
says hot.
It'll be 80 before we're done, I think. It used to be worse when we had towers with, actually years ago when we had the CRT monitors. The room would really heat up. All right, so when I do MongoD, that's the server. And pretty much we can ignore this after this. All right, so I'm going to minimize that. And I'm going to do another CMD. So you have the server. We did this. This was actually happening with SQL. You need to be in trouble connecting.
Yeah, I think I just remembered now.
So change it to that.
Yeah.
So network card. When we had SQL Server, the program that we were using was kind of like the Mongo client, right? It was a separate program. It was talking to SQL Server. It wasn't actually, the SQL Server environment is not actually a part of SQL Server. It's a client application that talks to it. The Workbench is not actually MySQL. It's a client program that talks to MySQL. That's a service in the background. This just makes it a lot rawer, because we're doing the command line. But you still have two things running. You have the server, and then you have the client. They don't have to be on the same machine. In fact, a lot of times they're not. Does that make sense? So I'm going to, again, do the same path. So CD, program files, server, or MongoDB, server, 3.4, and bin. And then this time we want the client. And I won't press enter right away, but this is this Mongo. before I type that, if I do, it shows you everything that's in there. So now there's MongoD exec, and there's what we're going to do is where's Mongo exec? Right here, Mongo exec. There's other programs in there, but most of those are executed by from within the Mongo exec or the MongoD. So I'm down here to the line again. You can also, if you ever just tired of all this stuff up above here, clear doesn't work. There is a clear, but oh well, never mind. So I'm going to do Mongo anyway. And it gives me the shell, which is CLS. I don't think it'll work from within Mongo. Guys, I'll give you a minute to get in there. I know I move really slow for some people and too fast for others. It's sort of a I also know this is a problem for any class that I've taught. It's really hard to look at your computer this way and then look up here, let it look back, and then look. It makes it really hard to copy things. Which I think was the idea of the big screen you're supposed to put in there. I don't know. Although, are they going to put it there? Because that seems like a really useful place. Backslash. CD backslash. I'm going to put the program file. Produce CD program. All right. I'm going to do the first. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to type show databases just to see what databases I have. Now I think I'm going to delete the show tracker and the text store and then recreate them. So I know that it's really hard to see this, and you don't necessarily, it's just show databases. It's that simple. Can you see?
Okay.
Kind of. Would it help? I don't know. This isn't the best thing to, I mean, just it's so busy. Bigger font help or not?
Maybe I just have to stand up and see it.
Let me change the font slightly bigger. Properties. I don't know if that's any better. I can raise it a little too.
Oh.
So do CD program classes. Oh, so yeah, do MongoD. Are you in the virtual machine? Yeah. So CD programs, oh, there it goes. It just took it a second. Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere there. All right, then you're back. Yeah, I think you have to see yeah, they're just Mongo.
Just CDs.
So there's a couple of databases here. There's admin and local. Those are always there. Admin is basically your, it's if you want to set up users and permissions and things like that, you set them up in the admin. So admin is sort of your system database. Local is just a test database. Then we made show tracker and text store, right? So I am going to delete them and then we'll walk through, particularly show track or text store we live. So I'll delete it first. So I'm going to use text store. Okay, so that's again, if the database doesn't exist, remember saying use text store makes it exist. Now you guys don't have to do this unless you had text store. The reason I'm going to delete it is that before class I went through and I was playing with stuff. So I want to start off clean when we do this. So I'm going to do db run command. And again, you don't have to do this unless you just want to get rid of, unless you have a text store you want to get rid of. And I'm going to say drop database :1 curly brace and parentheses. So couple of things to remark about this. When we do queries, this tends to be how the query looks, is it'll be some term, colon, and then a value. Right, so we could be looking for a term. I'll show you some examples of this in just a minute. The one here is just a Boolean. Drop database, yes, 1. So true. We're running the command. What database is it going to drop? That's why I said use text store, because it's going to drop the one it's in. When I press enter, it says it dropped text store, OK. And my text store is gone now, and all the data. So if I had terabytes of data, you could get rid of it that easy. So if I do show databases again, there should be no text store. There is still show tracker because I haven't dropped it. I will when I do that. So some of the commands here are fairly intuitive, like show databases. Maybe not so intuitive. And again, how do I find those kinds of things? I'm going to real quickly go to, I think I have it on Edge, the Mongo manual, and where it says search documentation, it's over there. I'm going to say drop database, and I'll press enter, and it will show me drop database, and I look at that, and it gives me, run command, drop database 1. So I mean, the help is really useful. And there's no way to know. This is like most computer stuff. There is absolutely no way to know this stuff without looking it up or being told. A lot of people get frustrated because they feel like they should be able to intuit this stuff. And maybe if you've done hundreds of NoSQL databases, or you've built a lot of databases over your time, you've done a lot of programming, and you really know JSON, maybe you could intuit it, because you have built up this vast store of stuff. But until then, you're just going to have to look it up or be told. There's no real knowing this. So the point of this is to ask some queries. So I'm going to use text store. So I'm actually building the database I just dropped. The reason I did this is just to make it clean. I want to start over. When I say use text store and do enter, it says switch to DB text store, even though I dropped it, because it just recreated it. Nothing's in it, right? There's no collections or anything in it. It just created it. This can drive you nuts, actually. Like no validation, nothing, just create it. Anytime you accidentally type something you created. Yeah. So one of the things that I'm going to do, I created the text store. I am going to go this first steps with No SQL. This is congerprepblogspot.com. So if I just go there, let's go somewhere else. Let's kill it. I'm just going to make a new tab. congerprep.blogspot.com. And what I want along the side here, it has things. I want the first steps with No SQL. And it tells you how to set things up there if you've never set it up. And what I'm going to do, there's a place with, actually I want the second one. I want Mongo Database 2, because what I really want is this data. And this is what I'm going to do my queries on. So I went over here to Mongo Database 2. The first one tells you how to set everything up. It's kind of what we did last time. And this one, I just want to copy this data, and then we'll do a variety of different queries on it just to show you how to work. It's not a lot of data. The neat thing is, all right, so it's in this window here. I'm just going to copy that. So I'm just going to highlight all of this. Make sure you get both brackets. So I'm just going to right click and copy. And then if you need, I can do this more than once. But I'm going to insert it. I'm going to do DB, and I'm going to call it products. And again, I'm creating this collection called products right now. I'm going to do .insert. And it is case sensitive. All of the Mongo stuff is case sensitive, unlike the SQL. I'm going to open a parentheses. I am going to right click. So I just right click with the mouse. And then at the very bottom, I have to close that parentheses. So do you want me to do that again? How do I do this without running it? Backspace.
Why is it on the whiteboard?
Yeah, I could do that. All right, so, because it won't actually backspace over it either. So the steps for that were I selected. Yeah, I just have to. Going back. Mongo Database 2 in the blog. All right, so I went and got the Mongo Database 2 in the blog. I went down to where it has the this collection for the text store. Just the inserted code there, the code insert. Select all of that. So including the square brackets. Copy, right? Go to the command. Line for the Mongo. You want to add a parentheses. So parentheses, right click, and then add a close. So the right click should paste it all. And then add the close in parentheses. I'm not very good on the whiteboard. I always tend to run out of space. So let me just put some. Okay, then right click and then add. Did that work for everybody? I can help you if it is. So when I go to the command line, so what I did, I had to write, actually I didn't say this, you have to write dbproducts.insert. Add this parentheses, right click, and it'll put all of this there, and then you need to close the parentheses. And with luck, it writes 10 rows. We did this a little bit last time because it's so much easier to write this stuff in Notepad or somewhere else than it is to write it at the command line. And then you can just copy it and paste it into it. If that doesn't work, there actually is at this point here, there is a edit and a paste. If you can't get the right click to work for you, and it will do it wherever the cursor is, wherever the the command line is. You can click the little C : backspace, go to edit, and you can choose paste. That has the same effect. And if you want, so just to look at all of this, I'm going to do DB. So DB is always your current context. So right now we're in text store, so DB is text store. You want to do, so products is the collection. Find is sort of the select star from. I mean, it's basically the generic search, and it'll show us all the products we just entered. Anybody, you guys need help over there? You got it, or?
I need help starting, but
Okay.
I'm just gonna go.
Let me know. I can try to walk you through some. So, is that all making sense, sort of, so far? Let's do a query, although, are you guys ready for it? Where we just ask for a particular thing. I'm going to do db.products.find, open a parentheses, and then I'm going to do a curly brace, and I'm going to say product, spell it right, colon, and what product do you want to search for? Okay, that's the first one now. We could do iPad. We could do a couple of these. Oh, yeah. So if I do a curly brace and then that. So this is the simplest kind of search. So we're looking for product. That's this word, right? The key. There's always a key value. This is the key. This is the value. So product iPad is a value. Price is a key. This is the value. Quantity available is the key. This is the value. So if I do that, it'll return just the iPad one. All right, we can do that. Let's do it with something easy to type. Maybe the Star Wars mouse pad. You could try it if you want. It's always this, for this the simplest one. DB products find This is the part that'll drive you nuts. You have the parentheses, then you have to do the curly brace because everything is JSON inside of here. You have to do the curly brace, product. The product can be in quotes or not. And you don't necessarily have to have the space for the colon, but I think it makes it clearer. And then I say Star Wars mouse pad. And then you close the curly brace. And you close the parentheses. And it pulls that out of here, right? It gets just that one thing. I'm going to show you a couple of other little refinements to this, and then we'll do some other kinds of queries. Does that make sense? It's not too hard, and actually the things I have you look for, the queries I have you do, basically all resolve to this basic syntax. So I list the key, and then I list the, so I list the key, and then I list the value, and it pulls back any match. This can get really sophisticated. We're not going to do this, but you can add indexes where you can index every word in a field. So if you have a heavy text field, you can actually search for anything that has these words in it. I mean, you can get much more sophisticated queries than what we're doing. All right, so a couple of other things. What if you don't want to see everything? Notice how this is showing all your fields. What if you only wanted to see the object and the price? You know, in SQL, you can say, I just want to see select product, comma, price from, and you'd only see those two fields. So you can kind of do that here. So I'm going to do DB products find, and then we're going to say product. Should we do Star Wars again? Star Wars mouse pad. And then I'm going to do a curly brace, and then I'm going to do a comma. And I'm going to say product :1, comma, price :1, and I'm going to say underscore ID :0. I'm going to do the curly brace, and I'm going to close that. Anybody have any idea what I'm doing there in the second set? I'd be surprised if you do have any idea, but I'm just asking.
Booleans that say
These are Booleans, and we're saying we want to see product, we want to see price, we don't want to see the ID. The ID you explicitly have to exclude. Otherwise, it'll be there.
And to run it, you also want to have a lowercase I instead of capital
Yes,
I.
probably. And it'll probably give me an error if I don't. Again, the spacing doesn't matter that much, but. So the first one is search criteria. We're looking for the product Star Wars. The second set is the what fields do you want to see. So if I run that, notice I've only got product, Star Wars mouse pad, and the price. It only showed me the fields I wanted to see.
So you have to explicitly say you don't want to see the ID.
Right, you have to actually be explicit about not seeing the ID, or it always shows. Whether you say, so if I just did this with product 1 and just price, I didn't mention the ID, it would return what we've got here, except it would also have the ID. And you might want to see it, but I mean, if you want to exclude it, you have to explicitly exclude the ID, otherwise it always assumes it's going to be there.
Is that only for the ID or for any of the other categories also?
It's only for the ID. Basically, if you don't have product one, notice I didn't have to say 0 to quantity available. Basically, once you do that second set there, you're just saying which ones you want to see, right? And you could, if you wanted to, you could put quantity available 0 if you didn't want to see that. But you don't have to. You only have to say which ones you do want to see. It wouldn't give you an error if you say quantity available : 0. Does that make sense so far? This can be kind of fun. It can be a nightmare if you're a bad typist. It's true of most command line. I'm going to show another kind of thing, which is not part of your assignment. You don't have to do this, but just to show you. I'm going to do one where we look for like all the ones that have a price greater than X number, right? So I'm going to do, all of these are going to be DB products dot find. This one I'm going to say price colon, actually the curly brace price colon. Another curly brace. I'm going to do a $ GT colon, and what would be our price that we want? Greater than, some of them like the 1250, let's say, greater than 500. That's most of them. How about greater than 1,000? Curly brace, curly brace. Did I do that right? There's only one greater than 1,000. So that worked. We might want something that's a little bit greater than. Okay. So I'll do exactly the same thing, basically. And you can, I don't know if you want, this could probably drive you crazy. I'm going to do Control C, right click. Okay, curly brace, colon. When you open, so begin and end, and then an inner one there. So we get 3 that are greater than, I did 500 this time, but 3 are greater than 500. Does that make sense? So this $ GT is a built-in function. A lot of the functions have $ in front of the names. And I'll do a lesser than, and I might show you how to update one, none of which you have to do in your assignment, but just to show you. And I know this is really, I mean, it's hard to see this because there's no spacing and it's just a big mess. So if I were to do, except I'm going to change this to, let's do quantity available. Colon, curly brace. And I'm going to do ampersand less than, which, or I mean $ less than, which is actually pretty close to the escape characters in HTML. Colon, and we give it a price, or an amount. So let's say less than 5 left. I'm actually looking at the values. What do we got? 5, 3, 2, 9, 7, 100. What do you want it less than? Let's say less than 5. Close the curly brace, close curly brace. And a lot of times what's going to drive you crazy is, again, missing a curly brace or something. You press enter and then you're... So we have 3 that are less than 5 in quantity. So they're going soon. You'd want to... Although I don't know why anyone would buy Norton antivirus anymore. That's a different thing. And prices are probably more than that. I haven't looked. Does that make sense, sort of? You get the pattern. It's the pattern that matters more than the specifics.
For the dollar sign before the LT,
Yeah.
does that have any, is that just dollar sign LT, what the code is?
Right. So if we were to go to the... Oh, I was just looking for the Mongo. So that's drop database there. If I were to look in the search documentation and I wanted to say less than, notice how it has and dollar sign $LT, and it shows how to use that. So it's a built-in. I think what it does is it tells Mongo it's a function. Weirdly, it also uses that for variables. We're not going to write any variables, but you can. Variables start with a dollar sign also. And then there's also updates you could do. Like this is doing a thing where it says that the carrier fee and fee, the dot there, we're not going to do this. But the dot there means that there's a sub object in there called fee. And inside of that, so wherever the fee is less than 20, we're going to set the price to be $9.99. I mean, basically, it's an update with the criteria. You can do a lot. I mean, as I said, these are pretty significant things you can do with these. You can do a lot of analysis, a lot of queries. Typically, this kind of stuff you might do at the command line when you're trying to get a sense of the data, and then you would probably pass it into something like Python or something to do a full analysis. Does that make sense? Python and Mongo work together really well. They're like finger in glove. So, couple of questions. If I were to say, take your things for show tracker and build it, do you think you could build it like 3 or 4 records in each of your collections? And then just do those basic queries. So with the basic queries, and I'm certainly going to circulate and help, one of the things is that when you enter an artist, one of the fields for artist, if you don't have it already, should be like genre. And you don't have to enter exactly if you turned in your JSON, you know, the last assignment, you can modify it. You don't have to turn in exactly what you did there. So when you do an artist, you might have a list of genres for them. If you want, I could do that one just to show you how that might look. You know, when you do a fan, you could show a list of fans. Let me do the artist one, because I think I haven't shown you how to search for an array, which is actually transparent. There's no big deal to it. Let me go into show tracker, and I'll make the artist, and I'll add genres, and I'll do that first one for you just to show how that might work. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to say use show tracker. And I think I might drop show tracker and just add the artist. Yeah. Or do you want to see if I do show collections? I have artist, fan, shows, and venues. I already entered this. So do you want me to kill it or just show the artist? Let's just do DB artist. Fine, just to see what we've got. Ooh. So notice one of the things that I did is I didn't assign an ID. So it assigned an ID. And that's what you get when you let it assign an ID. So I have like artists, Death Cab for Cutie, and I did for genres, I did alternative and pop. And then I have Monsters and Men, and I have Lord and Daughter and Metro and Pearl Jam and Bob Dylan and Neil Young, and somebody gave me Roy Hargrove in the quintet. I have no idea who they are. But I have all of these. Now, when you look at the genres, notice that there's a square bracket here, and there are several things listed. Absolutely forbidden in a relational database, but real common in a NoSQL database. If I wanted to see, we've got lots of alternative. Let's say, just say I wanted to see which artists we had alternative, right, for genres. Or maybe we should look, alternative tends to be the first. Rock is a little rarer. Let's see. Folk. I was looking to see our pop. Pop is not the first anywhere. Let's look for pop. No, select won't work. DB artists find, and I'm going to do genres. Oops, parentheses, curly brace. Genres, colon. And I'm just going to say pop, because pop isn't the first on any, except are they, mostly they're capitalized, so let's do. So pop isn't the first in the list anywhere, but notice all of these have pop in it. And it basically, as I said, it's just totally transparent. If you have a list of genres, it will just it'll search the list, and if there's any matches in the list, it'll bring it up. You don't have to do anything special. Does that make sense? I should get rid of the key. That key takes up the whole screen. So the query is the same as what we're doing before. That's all I wanted to show. If I wanted rock, it would be exactly the same kind of query. So if you wanted to find artists that were supposedly I get the curly braces and the parentheses mixed up a lot. Genres. Now, one of the problems is if you were inconsistent and rock is capitalized sometimes and not others, it may not bring them all back. But I've got some with rock here. Free for that. Give it a shot. I'll circulate and help you with these. And as I said, if you totally get frustrated, maybe it's in here. Not that one. Oh, I'm trying to find the, did I leave the GitHub? Let me go to GitHub, I'll show you. If I didn't do it already. at GitHub /spconger, under database schema, there's show tracker JSON text. If you go raw, you've got the venues, the fans, and the shows, and the artists, and some sample queries. So if you totally panic, I suggest trying it on your own. But if you totally panic, that will give you the assignment. And I'm going to give you pretty much the rest of the class to just work on this. Next week, we'll just sort of summarize on Tuesday and see what more we might want to do with this. Thursday, I'm intending to leave wide open for anybody that needs to catch up on anything. All right, so I'll be here Thursday, but I'm not going to present any new material on Thursday. Next week, it'll be just open lab. So if you need, yeah. I think it'll be closed after Friday. And Ed hasn't told me, but it's probably Friday or the day after. It might be Monday next week, but they'll probably wipe all these computers. So if you want to save stuff off of it, make sure you get it before then.
What's the final? Is it just the quiz?
Yeah, I don't have a final as such. That's actually a good question, though. So I don't know which things have which. There are under the assignments, and again, mine's in the teacher mode, so I have all of Nicole's unrealized assignments here too. But under the quizzes, there's just the three, SQL Server, Mongo, and they're just multiple choice. They allow you 2 or 3 tries. But yeah, do those. And I will, I will accept. So Friday is the last, next Friday is the last official day of school for the summer. I can probably accept assignments if need be up through the weekend. I'm not entirely sure what day grades are due, but it's probably Monday or Tuesday after. Once the grades have been submitted, I can't make changes anymore except for the grade change cut. You guys are in pretty good shape anyway, most of you. I think you'll be fine. And there will be Thursday if you need time. Oh, okay. So do survey. So do CV survey, I guess, because you're the CV survey. And then like do another backstep.
So. We want some collection.
And then do
Venue selection.
And then
And then just.
just that. And then you do it for that.
Use the image. Add collection to the end.
Not first you do comment.
And then it's the same thing. You see the guys.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll do one over here.
Yeah, that's where it
So
starts.
what is this?
That's the actual server.
So,
Yeah, so MongoDB, they're both in the same folder, but MongoDB is the actual server, so MongoDB is the session.
Okay, so first you have to, okay, so
So this
first
is
you have
just
to
front end.
create
This is the actual.
the database. That's when
It's just not a
you
notice.
sure.
oh, okay. Oh, but you did.
Yeah.
So you just said, yeah.
And then,
Oh, so if you want to go to,
other facilities,
and do,
that's the button. Very selling it. So you should have it.
So,
We got menu, activity collection, got find, the overflow. So that creates the collection. And then you can use the interest.
this is actually the creative vendor, so let's do that.
No, it's, you do venue, you do venue.
So we want to go, so do, new show.
And that's how you got all of them.
So that made the,
So
that actually created.
you can,
Okay, so let's do,
create collection, find,
Yeah, you can use it.
so that's where
I just copied it over.
you
I was sitting there.
and you got the collection.
I just got it, yeah. I started writing another day.
Yes, there is an ad.
You know, maybe not,
The standard would be ALT star, but I don't know.
Right, so basically, yeah, it returns, everything in it is JSON, it even returns JSON words. And so basically what this is saying is you have 0 byte errors, you want to insert it for So
I'm just checking
and then
the.
if you do like,
Yeah, no.
without show.
Oh my God. Oh, we-
Literally, that's the thing. Just shows the money.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I told you.
Here's the space colon space. You don't have to do space colon space. It just doesn't. It makes it easier. Yeah.
This is the. But what I would advise.
Was that just a stretch or did you need help?
No, I have a question.
Yeah.
You insert it. Yeah, in real life, typically it's So you wouldn't be doing this. So this one is easy.
So then
No, you put it into the insert,
And then
if
just,
the DB dot shows the insert.
So I've done that with lives. It shows in collections.
Shows is a collection of your show track.
so now you have all the data that I put in. So
Okay,
these are,
So when you say show collections, that is
those are the
integrated.
ones. They're not exactly the same.
Maybe you said use collections, that would create a database called collection. But if you say show collections, that's not.
Yes.
That's what I was.
That covers show that.
Cool. And since this is the correct address,
Yeah, and see if the right result in single one.
okay, thank you. How do you? Okay. Maybe. Oh wait. So it means if you want to see what show now, you know, show those stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you very much.
getting an error message now when I'm trying to log into my account saying the truth relationship between this account and domain have failed.
Ah,
Should you fix something else or?
yeah, I'm not sure. So if we do,
Video.
so if you got disconnected, that's odd. You might have to restart.
So the other assignment is what you
And if that fails, we can go on down.
Yeah, I thought that was just collections.
That's- Well, you should do it.
So.
I just did a help. There's an internal help file, but I'm not sure. Doesn't look real extensive.
one of those districts. Okay, yeah, you took John, right?
That's actually quite a bit of help. DB help. So there's sort of an internal, might take a while to navigate it.
Regardless.
Did it let you in? Yeah. So you could do them, so you got menu, yeah, I would do them each as individual collections, not new databases, but individual collections. So which is this? This is,
Check it out here, because this was the one that you said.
right, but you can just change down here to say, Use and like show tracker. or whatever.
It's like,
And then just press enter. So you're in a different database. So if you want to insert like DB,
and,
Let's see.
or,
These are-
and whether
What
we
you're
need
gonna name
searching
is like,
what you're looking for.
fine, or it is.
Oh, but you turn
What
on.
do you say?
No, not the one. There's two.
You're telling you to create that relation.
So one of them is just like this. Yeah, so the next one is to put it in the database and then do a couple of collection or queries.
You said use DB collection. Is that what it's?
So
So it,
DB collection name means like artist could be the name of it or show could be the name of it.
no, it's.
Does that make
it's not
sense?
So
like-
do DB dot show dot on.
Yeah.
And you're,
I think it's open up
what
another
is
book
this
there.
for?
What it does is it just shows all the data in the photo collection.
Yeah, that.
So is that what I should do?
Yeah, I would put the data in.
Okay.
And not,
So before you do the dot font, so do just a DB dot. So let's say you wanted to enter show.
Yeah.
Just do show. Dot insert. Start a parentheses.
oh, there it is.
And then you should be able to copy.
And then right.
Yeah.
So, bb dot collection name dot
So
file
copy that.
and
And then right click. And then it needs to close in parentheses. Actually, run it.
Really?
Yeah, you need to get to the area. Well,
So,
not run. but,
price.
Let's just do it, closing parentheses. And then it gives you the error, and then you can do it again. So just do DB, show insert. Start parentheses. You should still be able to right click. I think it's press and then close the parentheses. Shift it.
Oh, no, it's not in there.
It still has an error. Let's see what it is.
Because and will only send it.
Oh, you know what? Notice if it does show there,
So, or
we don't want that show there.
Oh,
square
so
bracket,
copy pasting. I don't-
Yeah, don't do the name of it. That shows that place, that's why. So yeah, just copy from the.
artist,
These are all looking at different fields of quantity
Yeah.
versus price.
And then close it again. And then I think this time it will insert. No, it's not. Why is it not?
Well, it doesn't always give you an error.
Well, it should at least give you another
Yeah.
line. But not really. DB show it, so that looks good. I don't see anything wrong with it. It didn't give you another three dot thing. Yeah.
looks like it's an element. So, curly brackets. And then in quotes.
I'm just looking to see if it's still true. Article connection, connection accepted. Client version.
Oh, shit. Oh my god, I cannot.
It's like frozen. I've never seen it free, so. I don't think so. It's not letting me enter anything.
It's in colon, it's got to be out.
It's started again. Just do C and D.
I can still use that one.
Yeah, I think it's okay. CD backslash. And then remember program files. So CD. No slash. Just CD program files. Backslash. Marker deeper. Slash saver. Slash 2.4. Slash king.
So, it looks to me, you got the brackets on every other one except for this 99.
It's always a tough to the saver way down. It's so good.
That's only why I can see it. Because we have this genres and all way. It's worth trying to put those in there.
So it seems to go. All right, let's. Do control C.
I think, yeah.
I'm gonna kill that. I'm gonna kill this.
Man,
Thinking there may be something wrong with that. All right, so you saying do CD back. And then I'm going to try to then do Mongo D. Now, do another one. Do CD backslash. Do Mongo. Is it not working? There you go. Actually, yeah.
You're just doing a lot.
That looks good. Now do use shortcut. And then just show collections. Show space collections. So you still have show. Do select not select different thing. DB.
Yeah.
DB show. Find.
So,
This is.
Artists.
Get wrote the record.
Yeah.
very clearly.
So now you should be able to do the same thing with venue, but DB that venue.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, that's not that. We're trying to find one period that'll find all of the bands for all of the all artists at once. Each period.
I don't think there's any way to do that. I think you have to do these two curves.
Okay.
So on this one where it says what?
Well, so if you were searching fans, if you search fans, I'll just do an artist name. It should find it.
But so the first query returns 5 artists. You do 5 of those queries.
So which are you?
So I'm doing the assignment.
Right.
So just choose a genre of what artists you consider. It gives you 5 artists.
What fans follow those artists? So it should be under fans. It should just be under fans.
So fan, then how do you specify? So you have to do 5 queries of each.
Oh, did I say I said those artists?
Yeah.
So there is. Let me go to. This last part here, I said to follow those artists. You can do it like this. Let's see if I can make that bigger. Well, so these are all the shows. Yeah, so you'd want to do fans. Right. Let me do.
Okay, so what's the order? So I'm like, one socials.
Well, I actually meant to show you this so that you didn't have to go search so much. So if you wanted to do like all the shows, oops, I want to make that bigger. I want to make that go away. I want to bring that up. If you wanted to, this shows all the shows for any of these artists, right? But if you wanted to show all the artists that a fan follows, you could do db.fans.find $or, and then. So the $or is basically saying any one of these, right? If you said and, it would have to be all of them. And I meant to show you that because otherwise that is. So you actually have most of the queries kind of up there. Yeah, that's fine. We're 1 degree away from 80. Okay.
Not sure what.
So you're suited under the button there. So
It's executing. Coding is
copy that. So you're not using it. Maybe copy, not the parentheses and copy.
Copy all this.
Yeah, because I think it is executing when you copy and paste. Still get it there.
That's where the record's from.
Did you put it around jazz?
I did because it wasn't working without it.
You like that?
I got the same error.
Yeah.
Yes. Once you have said one element from what you did.
Yeah.
Said this last.
Oh,
Yeah.
so content. I
Okay, all right, thank you. Enjoy it, just a little mistake, very nuts.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you should be able to delete a record. Let me look real quick. I know how to update, but I think it's just delete. So you'd probably have to delete the whole record, right? So let me. So I'm going to go to database help. Actually, I want to minus. So in the documentation, I'm just going to delete record. So yeah, document. So we want to just delete one. Let's see. I don't want to delete many. Delete one where the status is equal to D. So one of the things you'd want to do is DB inventory, delete one, status, or whatever the field name is, with the value you want to get rid of.
Okay, so I have to do it by field by field.
Let's see. So if we do the whole record, let's look at the record that we want to get rid of. So I think you might. So you can probably just get rid of the IP, but you might have to do it twice. DB genre delete one. Might even be able to just all right, and then in parentheses, trigger brace. I don't think status is what you want. I think what you want is underscore ID colon 1. There, 2. True. So if you do a find, it should be fine. Yeah. Oh, the lower one.
Yeah.
It could be if you're using my data.
Yeah, really loud. This one.
That delete?
Yeah. Wait a second. Yeah, so now you can make a copy. Go up to the do copies. It's still hard to read, just a command. Yeah. So I think you want artists. Don't have to start all over. I don't want people to look at it, but I think it's a little. So you want to find out who the artist. So that's the move back to the and then it would be well, you actually would be artist, right? Yeah, so we're so what fans follow those artists?
So what I put,
That's the one that's like that one right up there, which is on that first box. So DB showed find and or, and there's, we don't have too many artists beside that. There's those two, so I'll put that up a little higher so it's easier to see. The trick here, whoops. If I can get it up higher, doesn't want to go higher. The trick here is the and or, and then the square brackets, and then you just list, like if you only have the two artists, just list two artists, right? And then close, at the end, there's a square bracket, a curly brace, and a parentheses. Yeah.
DB got the question.
Yeah, and then find that, so we're doing a query about it. Well, what the find is doing, find, what, if you want to insert a record, you do insert. You're adding a record. Find is for looking at it, insert is for adding it. And then if you do that, copy, paste. Don't include the new venue up there, because it'll give you an error.
Oh, yeah. Just,
Yeah. And then close the parentheses.
and then what is this?
Those are for some queries. So it inserted one. Yeah. Oh, you did. Still probably doesn't want to, yeah, it's in there. Yeah. It is possible to change the, let's see. So is it artist? Did artist like?
Yeah.
So here,
I think so.
So I see. Just don't put it close to it. Yeah, it did. Now you can say, TV artists.
You need that or. Okay, so see, you started to run an or statement and it was waiting for the rest of the statement. And then you started to run the statement again. Okay, so let's do, close all three of these. Square bracket, 20, so do video.fans.com. And introduce $1. I know. So I don't like this. And then you do. Curly John has bold. Okay, that one's, that paragraph is starts the things that you are choosing. So then you can use the curly braces to distinguish to contain the things. So John and Paul, which is one thing that's John and Paul. You don't actually got more artists, right? Yes, it's an artist. No, it's just artist.
Oh, like when I list it out.
Face, face.
I'm just thinking that it's like doing a separate.
And make sure to capture.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to do is just isolate some of these values. So when they read out.
You don't want to show, I see what you're trying to do, you're just trying to show.
Yeah, I was just trying to show specific fields. And I was using. So I think it was,
I don't know if it needs to be.
Artist. One?
You want to show.
Two.
No, just, this is for.
Oh,
No, that's a band.
And then you'll need a closing
Did
curly.
you run the query for what artist?
Yeah. Because up here, I was able to run
So you
two.
ran it for Colt, so you can run the
So you know what?
Yeah, but if they're,
That makes sense.
Okay.
it may just treat that as anything that's not.
Mm.
did work.
Well, yeah, I did. I just included the ID.
Right, the ID is always there unless you say 0.
Okay.
So if you just did a comma after the underscore and did a underscore ID. Is it?
Okay.
Good. I didn't see what you were trying to do, but I was looking at it as 2 queries.
Oh,
It makes sense to me.
cleaning it up.
And now we want to close your square bracket. Was your code please? Yes. You always go to the interface. Is put on. That goes into this. Go. That goes back to show you. Use this to check. Close the door.
You need to see something else, or is that?
You choose a genre and then see the artist.
For the artists,
Artist.
we have it in parentheses, is that needed for the, identifying money more?
Which, this one? Here?
So like sometimes, so like here we will have parentheses.
Parentheses
Oh,
are
you
on
mean,
that.
you mean.
Curly.
Oh, cool, sorry. But here we did.
So it actually doesn't care a whole lot as long as it's only one word. So like this would have to be quoted. This doesn't have,
Curly
But
or
it can't.
colon, square, nothing like that.
Consistency is not my forte. So it probably should always be quoted or not, but I would probably quote it just for safety most of the time. I
Okay.
didn't care, and it will work without it. This would work without a quote too, if it's only one word.
What about like this, would this work without a quote or not because of that?
You know, I usually do. It might work without. You can test it if you don't mind errors.
All right, that makes sense, thank you.
String.
It treats, even if you, whether you quote it or not, it treats it all as strings.
Oh, does it?
Characters.
Okay.
Numbers will work. I mean, you can do math with numbers, but you have to kind of say, this is a number.
So it doesn't do the arrow, it just said, it just got the.
Yeah, see how it's done there. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not too sure if it's fine, but it just is there.
written absolutely no response.
Well, you have a, so it's just not fun. You do that,
TV fans telling.
You know what? So you're using my.
Oh, I have to go use that. Oh, right.
Okay.
It could be that there's no one. But it isn't a horse, it should be an animal. Do, do cats, I just want to say.
Oh, there's nothing in there.
Where did the cat, where did the, oh, that
Oh,
might
that's
be.
why. He did, yeah, he did unmute the shows. Artists. Genres. Yeah, you can do that.
So do the insignia fans on the other number.
And seconds.
Manual, I can turn on.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, and then you can.
We have to say,
Yeah.
so. How,
Close, I think, I'm shutting down.
so either way, there is a power button. Here. If you want to. Because it shows that we're almost done recording. It might eventually unfreeze, but if you, and the hardware will certainly unfreeze it.
Yeah. I just don't like don't want to leave the log into my stuff. I leave for the day.
Oh, yeah, if you're gonna leave, yeah, kill it. So it's probably a good thing I'm not on the trains tonight. No, they're just, it's, you know, they're surprisingly not reliable.
Really? That would be the most.
They're probably more reliable than buses, but they're having, tonight they're having mechanical issues. And one of the problems is if one has mechanical issues, it stacks the others behind them.
Right, right.
With the bus, you can go around, not so much with the train. Sometimes you can go around, depending on the other traffic and where they're stalled.
Right.
But they have a surprising amount of mechanical problems.
Like brand new too.
Yeah. But they run them hard, they're running all the.
All day.
How frequently do they run?
Well, actually, for the sounders, they run about every 45 minutes, but only in the morning and the afternoon. There's only one midday one.
Oh,
So they start about 4:30 in the morning and run until about 8. And then there's one at 10, and there's one at 2. And that's all coming towards Seattle. From Seattle, they're really, it's only like 1 or 2 before 3:30, and then they run about every half hour to about 6:30.
not as frequent as I thought it'd be.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was more frequent, but they're very expensive, and a lot of the mid thing non-rush hour ones are fairly empty.
Right.
The light rail runs from like like 4 in the morning till 1 in the morning. They're only off about 3 hours,
It's pretty nice.
but they don't go that close to where I live.
Gonna go just to the airport right now, right?
And they go a little bit south of the airport to Angel Lake, or Anchor Lake, which is maybe a mile south of the airport.
It's supposed to be in Tacoma in like a couple of years.
Yeah. Tacoma's almost close enough, but I still live like 30 miles away.
Yeah, it's a schlep. I'm in Ballard right now.
Oh, yeah. Ballard is, that's where I lived when I first started working there, but it's still like an hour on the bus.
Yeah, I mean, I drive in, and it's an hour.
Yeah.
On the day, like it's really not driving. It's just astounds me because I can't pull them up.
I used to take the bus, so I used to walk down the hill and then catch a bus for 15 on the 20 Saturday. I can't remember, was it 24 or
15
$15?
44 is also cool.
Yeah, the numbers, yeah, the numbers have changed. Maybe it was a 17, 18.
The one that went through downtown.
Yeah, went through downtown, went through Queen Anne, and all that. 24 was for, but I do know they've changed some of the bus numbers, so they're not the same as I remember. That should make a difference. Yeah. Right, and then if you want to try those birds. So this, let's see. So if I have to change it to go with your oh, so that would be if you only wanted to see those students. So any artist collection, if you only want to see their. So these are just what fields you want. Right, so you did. Yeah. You could just run it the way you had it right now. You don't have to. It'll work with them. As long as it's not something with multiple spaces. Every space or something like that.
That's what you did today.
Yeah. You run that, it should just give you the names. And the ID. Yeah, so the one one just makes true, so the genre. Now, what? It is an artist. You said artist, like, maybe artist.
Okay, so this has an artist, not what.
You got artist. Alright. Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah, 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 that's fine. That's, yeah, it's all, there's nothing about, there's nothing in the data. So if you do,
Yeah.
Oh, thank you,
I just have to, I'm sure that it's.
I'm actually I'm gonna copy these down into my little notes document and
So we've got.
annotate them, 'cause I actually tried going into the number documentation, I still a little bit of a hard time reconstructing.
So what are you trying to figure out?
Well, I was trying to figure out, like, if I didn't have that cheat sheet, how would I figure out how to clear that stuff just with this?
Okay,
So I
so
was having a hard time.
it's not, yeah. Okay, so go to sidebar. Okay, so back up. Okay, so. Just look at this, let's be honest. Okay, so there's all of these down here. So, like, you know that it's, that this is fine.
And if we just wanted to see, no, we don't need, this time we just wanted to see. Whether or not. I mean, artist name, yeah, so just do artist name. Or just check right there. Put that. And it's just so you want to see there. We want to see Hope Samuel, we want to see. So let's show them, and then we'll show it. So press. Oh.
Yeah.
So you only showed their name.
Yeah.
That's it. You want to be in the manual mode.
So
Oh,
all you do that, I'll go. This.
Yeah, let's see, you're getting it.
okay. Okay, that makes sense.
That's not what you're eating now.
I mean, I think that I would have a hard time just understanding. I think it's just that I'm missing. I'm missing the alternative.
So it should be.
This is the container for an array. This is the container for an array.
Not necessarily.
The elements
I
in an
think this
array.
is another different.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
this is a Boolean expression.
So
And
you do,
so on and so forth.
so you have to have it around here.
Anyway, so I was just trying to kind of translate that.
Yeah, the place.
What's the next?
Well, so one of the things we could do is what I was thinking, go to,
Which is SQL.
just do,
Is it easier?
No, it's ITC.
ITC? I tried looking for it.
Oh, they don't teach you transporter.
good,
It's a lot of.
good.
Gotcha.
And, slash dot com. Dot com. Without the slash. There's slash dot com.
Yeah, it's looking at fonts.
Yes, the database series is 220, 220, 226.
Yeah, look around.
222 is fall and winter. And then you take programming in the spring.
Actually, everything should be okay, so let's go down here. So first.
That's what I've been doing all day. 6 hours in database before that. Good Steve. We didn't write on this together.
Then do, insert a
And
DB.
how to bring that schedule as just 10-minute breaks between each class.
DB dot. Actually, so this is vendor, so do DB dot vendor insert.
Megan?
Sorry.
She done that again. No, she didn't. She did that in the one.
Yeah, no, I saw them.
Yeah.
So go ahead and copy the parentheses.
But Megan had.
And then grab your computer, just wait. So in each case, what you want to do then is say like, DB dot,
Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just gonna keep doing my little
Okay,
thing,
have fun.
and then I'm gonna go out.
I'm really wiped out.
Me too. This heat is not helping.
No, we are really close to 80
Yeah.
in the room.
Is it 80 here?
Yeah.
79.4.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a lot hotter outside, and it's supposed to be 82 outside. Or is it hotter than that?
It was like 86 last time I checked.
Oh, okay.
I have 83.
When I was at
Yeah, I know,
4:30.
it's starting to go down. 84. 84. Different things.
weather stations at different places.
Playing on my phone. 87 It has been close to or above 90 every day for 87 years. We have no.
Been so far inland,
Yeah, there's no big body of water close by. There are some lakes in the area. But not super close.
I'm going to Florida after the quarter's over. It's been 95 every day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh God, humid.
When are you going again?
I think I'm leaving the 28th.
Is that after the season of storms?
No.
Should they be over by then?
No.
No, no,
But
they run until late autumn.
Like October.
Like I said, the first hurricane was named.
No,
I think it's in the Gulf. I don't know if it's in Florida.
they're on the Atlantic side. It's not. I don't worry too much about Gulf hurricanes. It rains and that's it. It would have to come straight across the. It would have to be really strong to start with and come straight across the state.
Yeah.
It'd be a problem. Mind you, it's happened. There was a year where the first year I was out here, they got hit with 3 hurricanes. My parents' house got hit with 3 hurricanes.
It's been actually the hurricane seasons have been fairly mild for the last.
Yeah, 5, 6 years, yeah. But it was getting really scary there for a few years
Yeah.
before that. They had a hurricane in February one year. Oh, it was horrifying.
I saw, so I think it was in the Pacific as a typhoon, but it was a category 5. Because it hit the Philippines.
Mhm.
Biggest storm ever measured. So. They say they're actually, so storms are supposed to get possibly less frequent, but potentially more powerful.
Yeah. A week in Florida, drive up to North Carolina inland. It's going to be 100 degrees.
And more. I think I've never been to North Carolina. I've never been to
Yeah,
the
it's
East Coast. And that's really feeling
Yeah. No, it'll be pretty humid. Not as bad as Florida where they are. Around the Raleigh.
I've never been to
It's like a sauna. In fact, I hate saunas because of Florida.
Yeah, I lived in Coeur d'Alene. I used to, in the winter when I was laid off from the Forest Service, I would go to the YMCA and I would swim and then I would go to a sauna and sweat the pouring out.
I used to,
But it was cold outside.
Yeah. I used to go to the gym and swim, and then I would like for the first few weeks I tried the sauna, and I was like, no.
I'm not super fond of it, but then it was one I was younger. 2, it was really cold outside.
And you can write it.
I just couldn't breathe.
So this is.
Like I started having asthma attacks. It's supposed to be good for asthma, but it's terrible for mine.
Put it on all your other ones. You can write it to all your B tag. Put it in every.
I like trying to breathe a wet blanket.
B tag.
Probably.
Yeah. It would have that. So like, in your head, so on your.
I've left this up, and you don't have to do these exactly this way.
I'm just copying them down.
Yeah.
She's commenting the photo.
That's good.
Okay, that.
And then you only have to write it once. I don't know what it is. Like the center of this. Center of your footer.
Yeah.
I did spot Bill in the hall and asked him
Oh,
about, and he had some good ideas.
okay, good.
I'll put it around.
That's more of a piece.
Yeah.
So on Tuesday, as I said, we'll just finish this up, summarize a few things and see what else. So we're almost done. I may have rushed a little fast. I mean, we're gonna finish maybe well, I do want to leave the last one on. Even if no one shows, it's in our house.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, you What's that?
Yeah.
You gonna be here, do you prefer?
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. If you want, I can TA for 220 next quarter.
Possibly.
So much
Kira, she also wants to do it, but there's two sections. I don't know.
I wouldn't.
Just let me know. My schedule is pretty open, so
Or you can get paid for them if you like.
yeah. It's on my work study.
So maybe we could arrange, if Kira's going, wants to do it, just to stop this academic and there's no database classes involved.
Yeah.
But I don't think she can get paid for it. She already talks about that.
Mhm.
Out of office.
You still get the same back. Just without all that extra pad.
But yeah,
Yeah, I've only got one class that I'm actually taking, and the others are the independent studies. Which I still need to get in order. But, so yeah, I'm just,
Python would be the first one I teach Python.
that'll be interesting.
I'm pretty confident, particularly at that level. Or you need to practice and build some of like sample stuff. You can always yell at me to move, but you're probably.
No, you're good.
I still need to actually do a project in Python at some point. I only learned any of it because I was tutoring and there were all these Python students.
Well, I still don't like it, but I did do, it's in my blogs, I actually created a Python program to work with. And what I did is I created, I wanted to do an object-oriented Python program, so I wrote broken classes.
Mhm.
And then I created a form with team technologies. And then got it so that they could, it actually was just the same tech products thing, but then I added the form that we did, had a drop down list of all the products. So you could choose a database. So that's as far as I would have it.
Yeah, I haven't really messed with it yet.
I did write a little program to figure out the percent rise on a high frequency and how many feet per non-animated feet, vertical feet.
That's what the text.
Doesn't really reflect how they are, so you should go like this.
Yeah, yeah, that Greek calendar conversion was what I was going to do in Python.
That could be a problem.
I've been so busy. I haven't gotten to it. And I just keep getting busier.
Just trying to think. Greek fonts. It's an odd thing. It's generally there. Even the Greeks don't understand. that book,
You could do a night.
it follows the
Generic
holidays,
so wherever that
ceremonies
details
for each of the months.
go
Share that
responsibility.
despite the tendency
The
to
generic.
or the
Don't do the
Olympian
generic.
gods, there's actually a spot for the elements of
For our page.
mostly to drive away those.
I actually have to think about it. Generic items and what- yeah. So just do that. And we can actually fill out this space, because otherwise it's kind of like half a drop. So, yeah, if I was doing this side right now, but it would have stuff that you want the other retreats. Outside. A big growth, have their patch in it, just have it, nothing else on the page. Yeah.
I think I've overbooked my break. I have to finish this project, and I'd really like to finish this project by the beginning of next quarter.
Yeah, I would do that, I would just.
So it's finishing a book.
Make it a J.
Writing a book?
Yeah.
Or a PNG, to put an image
On
on.
what?
More pagan stuff. I'm writing the
Yeah.
funerary traditions for my.
You can take this aside out.
Try to get it published.
Says any more.
Oh, it's just published. There's only gonna be, a dozen people who want it.
Yeah, I'm in the.
I've been self-publishing a bit, and it's
Unless there's
really easy.
no reason for it.
The hard part is the
Then
thing
you
that
need
you
to
sort
know
of
what
I'm sure it's my
their
scope.
profile
Other than
Yeah.
doing that on your own.
I have a friend who does it.
Profiles.
Yeah.
Pictures.
Yeah.
You can even just-
I was doing Lulu.com, I get rid of them. so-
Yeah, I know them. I
I know it's more
use
work than
Amazon's
probably want.
service, but I know a lot of people who use it.
The reason I use Lulu is that I really wanted a hardback book.
That's-
Oh, yeah.
If you're gonna continue that's all.
Yeah, I'll do it, yeah.
That's something you can do. You actually
And they're
have
really
something
pretty books. They-
there with
they look nice.
The only reason I went with Amazon is that the friend who did the layout for me just does Amazon. Yeah.
Like these are, you're not gonna get time to do it all by Monday. But these are things, if your client is having.
Okay,
Every quarter, these are things that,
one day. So
like, I know my clients on.
lines and
I already know that, because my neighbor was 2 doors down. He's like, oh, he's like, just take what you want off my tax. Throw it up. Put it up there, so how you want to do it. He's giving me the right.
you just.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, no, not anything, but, and that's the thing, do you have to talk to your client about taking out the recorder on this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I would suggest that you could take out the recorder and quote them what their work is. Well,
Session?
it's 50 an hour. That's low. If they don't have that, then that's what you know, you guys are using it. You pay for it. That's the same philosophy as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a ton of people that will tell you that, I'll tell you that, Karen will tell you that. You know, if you're doing it for learning purposes, around for that's all there. Continuing it.
Yeah.
I've told more than my clients that.
Yeah.
Continue it up. Order.
It's just.
Right, it's-
That whole
Right, it's-
and putting the comments
And then
in
we thought about it.
when the first year went on.
They just price wise, not actually just financially.
That's what I remember.
Which is fine. And so she's like,
Or
I
And then I would have to just,
So that puts you in the use with class.
so you still would have to create Mongo. And you would have to just copy those.
He's on WordPress.
Or just make those the folders.
Did you get your?
So you still would have to download one.
Yeah.
I just grabbed my class order.
Yeah, I considered the last two things I must say.
Right, so
Those
when
like
you
progress stuff.
Those were done in class.
So, yeah.
Like Wednesday, we had a
No,
progress
you're right
review.
with all of them.
Yesterday was progress review. And so like, it's open lab if you need me. I can get online. No, I hopped on at 4 o'clock or short there.
Yeah.
That's the only one.
You actually got
Do you need me for anything? Nope. Nope. No. So if I do, I'll hop back on, otherwise I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, this is what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you can work in, ask questions. He looked at my stuff the other night when it was over. At least an hour, right?
I do.
With no traffic? Yeah, that's what no traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, never said they wanted to be.
No, not at this point. Then it does the.
So that is what value you want to go.
Couple hours from now, how to go like this.
We should have.
No, it usually just those, like, if it tries to screen, if it tries to install updates on I actually had it scheduled for another day. It's like,
Well, I thought she was a couple of ideas.
yeah, it's, you know, I guess, it's, do what you want with them. I like to use a lot. Because it makes things look really nice and modern.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Like, here's the plan right now that
Is everybody done with this?
is one
Did you want to say something?
exact site that
I was
has
just gonna.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like.
So what this does is it's like or, is it this or this or this or this?
So it's filled with own.
Yeah, so the or is saying if it's any of these values, return it.
But and that's what you should be, especially when we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Except for this guy. He's happy with this.
I took something else that I was maybe so good, I shouldn't have taken that. I would put it back.
Am I happy with? You're not happy with it?
I don't.
Whoa, it's still